Greetings to all viewers. This is Professor Ankit Singh. We'll now move to the next type of survey, that is origin and destination surveys, or this study is also known as origin and destination study. Okay. Before we move ahead with the type of survey, we need to understand a few terms. Okay. So first is trip. So we need to know what trip means. So a trip is a forward and a return journey of a person. Okay, suppose a person wants to travel from point A to point B, and then he comes back from point B to point A. Then his journey from point A to point B and again from point B to point A is known as one trip. Okay, second term is modes. Okay, here these modes mean the traveling modes or the vehicles that are used for traveling. Okay, so what are the different vehicles that we can use? With this will depend on the existing site conditions, okay, or our existing vicinity, like two-wheelers, cars, taxi, auto, bus, train, etc. Okay, now these modes might be available to a few people living in some area and might not be available to some other person who's living in a different area. Okay, next is origin. Okay, origin is the point of starting of a trip. Okay, it is the point from where the trip begins, and destination is the point at which the trip ends. Okay, it's the end point of the trip. Next is cordon line. Okay, cordon line is nothing but it is the boundary of the study area. Okay, there is a area that we consider for traffic study, so the boundary line of that study area would be, we'll call it as cordon line. Okay, so now origin and destination study, we need to understand what origin and destination study means. Okay, origin and destination study, as you can make out from the name itself, is nothing but the study from which the trip is being generated and where the trip is being ended. Okay, now based on this study, what can you achieve? So we have a few objectives. So let us have a look at the objectives now. The travel demand on the existing facility. Now this can be found out using OD surveys. Travel demand is nothing but the total traffic that is traveling from point A to point B. Now next is to determine location for new proposed routes. Now what happens in OD surveys, or origin and destination surveys, is that we find out the number of trips that take place from one ward to another ward. Okay, as you can see in this diagram, consider this whole colored part as our study area. Okay, now the boundary is the cordon line. Now this study area we have divided it into 5 wards, naming them 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5. Okay, now these lines over here are known as desired lines. Okay, we'll study this in detail later on, but these lines represent the number of trips that are taking place, and the arrowheads show which is the origin and which is the destination. Okay, so now in this diagram you can see the maximum number of trips are taking place from 4 to 1. Okay, so if there is no road facility provided from 4 to 1, then we would get to know that we need to provide a road facility from 4 to 1, because the traffic flow from this ward to this ward is more. Okay, there might be a road present connecting 4 to 5, and then 5 to 1. Okay, now this would be inefficient for the road users, okay, as they would have to travel long distances to reach their destination. Okay, so using this data or the origin and destination data, we can determine location for a new proposed road. Okay, similarly we can determine bypassable traffic. Okay, now since we know that traffic is the maximum traffic is traveling from 4 to 1, okay, then what we can also do is we can provide a separate road connecting 4 to 1. Okay, and these can even connect the central business districts, okay, of 4 and 1, so that there is no disturbance when vehicles travel from 4 to 1. Okay, there is no disturbance and there are no crossroads over here, so we can provide a straight expressway type of a road, okay, if the traffic here is more. To check the feasibility of existing bypass, okay, if there is a existing bypass in our study area, then using the OD surveys we will get the data. Okay, so what is the traffic that is traveling in between the wards, okay, and whether the provided or existing bypass road is efficient or not. Is it carrying the amount of traffic for which it was designed, or is it carrying less, or is it carrying more? So this would be the feasibility check on the existing bypass. Next, in order to plan new facilities, okay, if there are no roads provided at all and we are planning this for a new city, then using the OD surveys we would get to know that where people want to travel, from which area they want to travel to which area. Okay, so accordingly we can provide roads and plan the roads system. Determine adequacy of parking facility. Okay, so we would get to know that people are traveling from which ward to which ward, and then accordingly we can provide the parking facilities. Differentiate routes based on modes. Okay, so there are different modes, as I told you earlier on. That mode, our travel mode can be two-wheeler, car, bus, or trains, taxi, auto, or even walk or bicycle. Okay, all these are all travel modes. Now based on the travel modes, what we can do is we can provide different road systems. Okay, we can provide cycle tracks if from the data we get that there are more cycle users in that vicinity. Okay, and similarly other facilities like metro rail, BRTS bus. Okay, locate desirable location for new facility. Okay, this is similar as planning new facilities. So these are a few objectives that could be satisfied by conduction of origin and destination studies. Now there are types of OD surveys. Let us discuss them one by one. First is roadside interview method, then license plate method, return postcard method, tag on car method, home interview method, public transport survey, GPS tracking method. Okay, so the first one is roadside interview method. Here what happens is, what we do is we designate one side of a road or a single lane, okay, and we provide barricades, and what we do is we do random sampling of vehicles, and there are a few surveyors who have a set of questions for the road users or the drivers inside the vehicles. Okay, there are a few set of questions that they ask the driver and they collect data. Okay, so what is the data that is collected? what is the place and time of origin. Okay, from where is the driver coming from and at what time did he leave. Place and time of destination, where is he planning to go and what is his expected time of arrival at that destination. Okay, route, what is the route that he plans to use, the purpose of the trip, and the number of passengers. Okay, so this is the data collected using or during a roadside interview survey. Now the next method is license plate method. So okay, now in this method what we do is we record the license plate numbers of the vehicles while they enter the cordon line. Okay, while they enter the study area. Now there could be different roads entering into the study area. So there would be surveyors placed at every road which brings a entry to this study area. Okay, so whenever a car enters the study area, the time of entry and the license plate number is noted. And similarly, when the vehicle leaves that study area, the time of exit and the license plate number is noted. So from this data, okay, we'll see what is the data collected. Okay, the license plate number is noted obviously, and the type of vehicle is also noted. We can note whether it is a car, a truck, a two-wheeler, or a bus, okay, or any other type of vehicle. The point of entry and the time of entry is noted. Point of exit and the time of exit is noted. Okay, so these are the data that is collected during a license plate method. Now the next method is return postcard method. Now here what happens is we have a set of questionnaire. Okay, sorry, we prepare a questionnaire or a set of questions and write them down in a postcard, and at the places where vehicles normally stop like petrol bunks or toll booths, we distribute these postcards to the drivers, and along with the postcards we have a small gift for the driver so that he gets motivated in order to fill in the details and repost that postcard to the traffic department. Okay, now what is the data that is collected here? The place and time of origin, place and time of destination, the route that is being used, purpose of the trip, and the number of passengers. Okay, now the return postcard method is a method in which the drivers themselves are required to fill in the data, their travel data, and then post this data to the traffic department or the survey department. Now this data is not as accurate as the roadside interview, and the chances of return posts are less. So the percentage or the efficiency of this method is less as compared to the other methods. Next method is tag on car method. So in this method what we do is whenever a vehicle enters our study area, there are surveyors who are placed at the cordon line, and whenever the car enters, a tag which would have different colors and some numbering would be attached to the windshields of the cars. Okay, and whenever they enter the study area, such tags are attached, and when they leave the study area, those tags are detached. Okay, so when they enter, we supposingly a car enters at this point into our study area. So at this point what happens is the surveyor would attach the tag, he would note the entry time. Okay, and whenever this car leaves the study area, supposingly the study it leaves the study area from ward 3, then here the surveyor who is present at the cordon line would detach the tag from the car and he would note the time of exit. Okay, so we would know that the car had entered at this point and has made an exit from the study area at this point. That would be based on the color. Okay, so there would be different colored tags and differently numbered tags for entry on each ward. Okay, for example, the tag could be of the color blue when it enters through ward 4, pink when it enters through 5, and purple when it enters through 1, etc. Okay, so what is the data that is collected? The type of vehicle which is entering, the point of entry and time of entry, the point of exit and the time of exit. So this is the data that could be collected using tag on car method. The next method is home interview method. Now what happens in the home interview method is a particular sampling is done of the city and surveyors with a set of questions visit the homes and personally take the travel details of the road users. Okay, so what is the data that is collected? What are the number of trips, origin and destination, purpose of the trip, what was the travel mode that was used, time of departure and the arrival timings, and basic household characteristics like the number of residents in the house, what are the ages of the residents, gender, vehicle ownership, number of drivers, and family income. Now this data is considered to have the maximum efficiency as compared to any other method. Okay, the next type of survey is public transport survey. Here what happens is we have a surveyor who enters the public transport, which could be a bus or which could be a train. Okay, and he or she asks a set of questions to the road users or the travelers, the passengers, and he collects data. What is the data that is collected? Number of trips, origin and destination points, purpose of the trip, time of departure and expected arrival, household characteristics. Now this is optional. Okay, what are the household characteristics? Number of residents, age, gender, vehicle ownership, number of drivers, and the family income. Now this is optional. So the next method is GPS tracking method. Now GPS tracking method is the latest method which uses the GPS technology in our mobile phones in order to track the vehicles. Okay. Now after the survey part, once we have collected the data, we need to have a representation of the survey data. Now, this is possible using either a tabular representation or a desired line diagram. In the tabular representation, as you can see here, we frame a table, okay, wherein we can enter all these details, the road name and the number, the direction, the station, the name of the interviewer, the date, and all the data. Okay, the time, vehicle type, passenger vehicles, what is the seating capacity of the vehicle, the number of passengers in the vehicle. This is for passenger vehicles, this is for freight vehicles. Okay, and origin, what is the place of origin. Okay, destination, what is the place of destination. Okay, and the timings, the passenger trip purpose. Okay, if there are number of passengers like here 1 2 3 4, then what is the purpose of the trip. So all this data can be represented using in a tabular form. This is the first type, using a tabular form, and the second is a desired line diagram. Now this is known as a desired line diagram. Now considering this as a ward, sorry, as a study area, we have divided this into various wards. Okay, now as I had explained earlier on, that once we divide the study area into different wards, now if we have the data of people traveling from one ward to the other, okay, then we can represent those travels, those trips in the form of straight lines, okay, with an arrowhead. Now these straight lines would represent that there is a trip occurring between the wards. Okay, so here this is an example. Here you can see that there is one trip between 5 and 2, one trip between 4 and 5, and one trip between 4 and 3, and there are four trips between 4 and 1. Okay, so the number, as the number of trips increase, the number of lines will also increase. Okay, so with the help of this, once you plot the desired line diagram, here you can see the thicker the line is, it means that the number of trips in this direction is more. Okay, so the thinner the lines are, the number of trips in that direction is less. So these are two examples of the same. In this diagram you can see the thickest line is in this direction, and here the thickest line is in this direction. Okay, and basically, yeah, there are different colors used for travels between different wards. Okay, so it is easy to differentiate the trips. So this is the second type of representation of origin and destination data. The first type is tabular representation, and the second type, the first type is tabular representation, and the second type is desired line diagram. Okay, we'll move to the next type of survey in my next class. Thank you.